Welcome back everybody. I did a video last week on sort of a workshop day, various different repairs, and it seemed to go down very, very well, so I'm going to make you another one today. So first up, we've got this one, needs a rear brake bleeding. Then we've got this one, belongs to a young lad. He's fitted a brand new crank, somehow fitted the pedal wrong and completely ripped the thread out of the crank, so we're going to see if we can fix that one. So stay tuned. So this Tektro caliper needs bleeding badly. It's doing absolutely nothing at the moment. When you press the lever, you can just about see the pads moving, sort of a quarter of a millimetre, but that's it. So the customer had a go. He took this out, but didn't have the correct adapter. Take the wheel out, get the pads out, put a bleed block in there, bleed the system through, and make sure there's no further issues with it, because it's unusual for it all of a sudden just to go wrong like that. So let's have a look what's going on. Right. It has literally come in just for this brake, so I'll have a very quick look at the rest of the bike while it's on the stand, just to make sure his gears are working, etc. Pads look brand new. Normally, the first thing people do is try and set a new pads. It doesn't fix it, then they go a bit deeper and make it 10 times worse. So we've got some literally brand new Shimano pads in there. You can see they've barely ever touched the rotor because it doesn't work. Just make sure these pistons are all the way back in. I use a cush core lever for this. It actually works really well. Right, they're all the way in. Okay. And importantly, the air looks bone dry in there, so it doesn't look like there's an issue with the seals on the pistons. If you pulled those pads out and one of them was soaking wet on the back, clearly you've broken a piston and you need a new caliper, but this one looks okay. Give it a good clean before we go any further. So there's no room from the top to get a bleed block in. Normally you just drop it through there. On this one we'll have to put it in from the bottom there, and they give you an elastic band conveniently. So we'll just put that around the... Oh, elastic band broke. Oh no. Right, I couldn't get another one. 2 seconds. Try again. High-tech stuff, this. Right, that's not going anywhere. So we need to find the right adapter here for that caliper. So this is what a brake bleeding kit looks like after a few years of use. Just a big, massive, oily mess. These are the part tool adapters that you get. So just grab the right one that's going to fit that caliper. We'll take the bleed port out and try a few till we find the right one. There is a list on the lid there, but they give you a list on the lid of the box. But to be honest, I don't find it very useful. Normally it's just as quick just to try 2 or 3 of these. It's going to be one of these bigger ones here. That one there. It's not normally very tight in here, so there you go. There's pretty much no fluid in here anyway. Pretty sure it's this green one. Screw that in. Don't need to be too tight, it's got no ring on there. Whatever you do, don't lose that. And the part tool syringe has this separate piece on here that screws into all their adapters. All these hoses are failing on my part tool kit now, which is frustrating, because they're about £15 for a replacement hose. You can make them up, but they've got special crimps on here. I will get around to it one day, and that'll basically screw on there. First of all, we need some brake fluid. So it's a mineral system, so we're going to use Shimano fluid on here. We're going to use quite a bit of fluid in here because I know he's had a go at it and you don't know what's happened. And that's one end ready basically, and open as well, ready to go. If you open the lever now, the syringe will basically stop anything just falling out. I think it's empty anyway. What we do need to do is get this a bit lower than the rest of the bike, so we'll tilt the bike upwards like this as well. We'll just use one of these straps here. Still got a hat on, guys. It's still a bit nippy in here. People are asking about my diesel heater. I do have one. I bought one a couple of years ago. I tried it, but it was a bit noisy. I think the mistake I made is the actual heater itself should be sort of kept outside in an enclosure, and I had it inside the workshop, so it sounds a bit like a jet engine taking off while it gets going. But they are very effective, I'll give you that, so I might dig it out one day and do something with it. In the meantime, I'll just stick thermals on. On the lever, this is the bleed port, another Torx screw. So I'm going to have to use a different hose. This is a part fitting. I've started to make this as a new one, I think, at some point and give up. And this is basically a easy MTB one that's just wedged in there. So I'll find the adapter there, put that in there. Right, this one looks promising. It should go in very, very easily and just stop on the O-ring. So if you're having to force it in, it's probably the wrong thread. And hopefully that will screw into there. Yep. So we'll just screw the other part syringe to that one, like that. That's basically connected. So now we'll tilt the bike up. All right, that's fine. And you can drop this right to the floor almost, so you can see what's happening at the top. So all we need to do now is push this one through. It'll come out the lever, and we'll just repeat that 2 or 3 times until we're happy there's nothing there. So I'm just pushing that now, and that's coming out the lever. So I'll just keep pushing the rear. That's the first syringe emptied at the back. Look at the state of this fluid, disgusting. I'll just refill this one now. Again, I'm going to leave it open for a second. It will lose a bit of fluid. Let's get a cloth underneath it, otherwise it makes an even more of a mess. Basically, if you leave that open now, it'll do a bit of a mini gravity bleed for you while you're filling this up anyway. Put a cup under there, obviously, if you're a bit more sensible than me. That'll just stop it going all over the floor. But to be honest, this mat is so destroyed, I don't really care now. Right, so I'm just going to push this one through again now and keep going until there's no air at the top. Right, I'm just going to empty this syringe before I continue. Still plenty of air in that hose. There's still some air coming out. It's still black. Jeez. That still doesn't look like what's going in, does it? Give the lever a couple of squeezes just to operate that. There we go again now. Still disgusting. Definitely getting better. Wow. That's at least 5 syringes that's had now. Jesus, I'm beginning to wonder if there's a seal inside this lever that's breaking down and tainting it. I don't know. Shouldn't normally take this much, that's for sure. Right, I'm calling that done because we'll be here all day. Let's take this off and put the plug straight in. Don't need to be very tight, just put that in. Just a little tweak. The O-ring is doing all the work for you, really. Again, just take this one out. You will lose a bit of fluid, it's inevitable. Just try and be swift, but careful. Again, that's tight enough. We'll clean it up in a minute, I just want to test it. So I'm just going to squeeze the lever now. Right, so the lever on that now it's still rubbish, look at that. And that's 5 or 6 syringes. Pumped, gravity, everything. It's not even pumping up. So I suspect there is a problem with inside this lever. You can't possibly take that much fluid to get this working. So I think we're going to have to change this over to something like Shimano system. So it's a failed repair, guys. Can't win them all, can you? It is a pretty old system now, to be fair. So right, I'll speak to the customer, get some MT200s on order, and swap the whole bike over. And actually, if we look at this bleed block, there is signs of fluid on there, on both sides of it. So. Yeah, time for a new brake. I've got one in stock. I'm just waiting for a reply from the customer. If he says yes, we'll just quickly bang it on. It's pretty straightforward on this one. Right, so I spoke to the customer. He's totally fine with that, obviously, because he needs a bike to get to work with. So we're just going to quickly swap this over to a Shimano unit. It's very easy on this one. It's all externally routed stuff, so we'll just fly through this. Hopefully it doesn't even need a bleed at the end of the day. It's all a sealed system at the moment. Take these 2 clips off. Bike's got a DIY 1-bike conversion. That's C-solid, I've already tried to move it. C-solid, clearly he only ever uses the middle chainring, and I think he just goes a mile or 2 to work and back, so he doesn't care about anything, apart from a minute back brake. I'm not even going to attempt that because that's C-solid. Right, these hoses are actually bolted on underneath here, so I'm just going to take this mudguard off. So this is the outer brake hose here, it's clamped under this piece here, but looking at the state of this, I suspect this might be extremely seized as well. Joy. Mudguard's not done a very good job, has it? Oh, got you. Coming out, but the bad news is the other one looks way worse than this. So it doesn't need to come all the way out, just enough to get this hose out of there. If you can't get it out, it's not the end of the world. We can disconnect the hose from the lever and thread it through there, but I'd rather not if we don't have to. Right, that's enough for that one. Make sure that's super fully engaged. Oh, that's loose. Good. Appearances can be deceptive. Pretty much the hardest part of this job is getting this grip off, believe it or not. Easiest way is compressed air. You just blow this down the end, it'll either blow the other one off or we'll pump this one off. So I'm just going to cover the other end. My arm's not totally in the way there. It just pops it straight off. Take the lever off and we're about there. That's the old one off, dead. Shimano MT200, it's a sealed system out of the box. Let's get it on. Fitting is a reverse of removal, is that what they say? Something like that. Just get it on loose here. You need to get your grip on first to see where you want to sit it. I use clear lacquer for this, just a paint automotive one. Just spray some in the grip. Bang it back on. There you go. Let that dry and it'll be as good as new. Tighten it up roughly where you want it. We might need to move it again to bleed it potentially, but I'm trying not to. Depends. If the hose is miles too long, we need to open it and just snip a bit off, but we'll see how we get on. Because they are bled as they are basically in the box. So the old one went around the other side of that. It feels better to go around this side, to be honest, because it's a direct line to that one. We took it out, so I'll just clamp it in these 3 bits again. So just get that in there roughly. Don't tighten them fully yet, because we need to see how much we've got to pull through, obviously. But just get it all held together for now. Normally you don't even have these, so it's even easier. You just clip them on, but these are quite good once they're in. They're not going anywhere. Caliper up there, it needs to go inside the chainstay. Push that through there because it is massively long at the moment. Get that somewhere close to your mount there. Get the new bolts in there. Don't tighten them up fully because obviously we've got to centre this new caliper onto the rotor. Another brand new set of pads in this as well, so you can keep the old ones as some, well, the old new ones as some spares. These 2 clips back on. If they stay on, yep, behaving. That's those. Obviously cable tie that mudguard back on. Not too bad on this one because everything's fully internal, but if you've got loose cables here, just be super careful what you're doing with this. The amount of bikes I come in where someone's cable tied directly over a gear cable or something here and they don't work, wow, it's incredible. So many. Cable tie gun. Like that. That basically tightens it and chops it super flush at the same time. This is the hose here, so it is a little bit on the long side. To be honest, I've seen worse, but I don't want to leave it like that. So we'll chop a bit off here. So doing this, obviously you're opening the system now, so potentially you might need to bleed it. Generally speaking, in my experience, if it's just a quick cut and reassemble without squeezing anything, normally you get away with it, but we'll try. So they give you a spare olive and barb in the kit as well. It's 8mm. Pull that out, there's your olive. So take that out and aim it to sort of where you want it. We need to leave a bit of slack down here, so when you turn in the bars, you're not putting tension on this hose, so around about there is going to be just fine, and we'll cut it to about there. Put these on here. So you've got an open system now, so try and work fairly swiftly. Don't squeeze the lever. So I normally put the olive on there, because sometimes when you put this barb in, it can be very tight to get the olive over it. So just get this started by hand. You can hammer these in, you can get some little plastic blocks that Shimano supplies, just basically clamp that in a vise and you can just hammer it in, but a bit sketchy. Just wind this in like that. That's it there. So Shimano asks you to put a bit of their premium grease on here just to aid assembly. Basically stops this hose spinning as you're tightening it up. Well, that's the theory anyway. So a tip from a couple of you guys, what normally happens here, you tighten this up and it ends up twisting this hose and looks a mess. So what you guys have suggested doing is clamping it with this. I'll hold this tool while you tighten it up. So we're going to do that. Ideally I might get another one of these and just cut this off and get it out of the way, because I've got two of these and they're fairly cheap on you. And then you could just use this as a clamp like that, and then holding that, we're going to tighten this up. In theory, that stops the hose twisting. Look at this. Jesus. These take around about 6-7 Newton meters, but to be honest, you'll feel it when it bites. I'll bite in there, so normally another sort of half a turn past there is fine. That's good. So that's kept that fairly straight there, so that's good. So we'll just slide this back on and see how it feels. We still need to tighten these bolts, don't forget that's floating around. Lever wise, look at that, rock solid. Beautiful. Right, let's just get this caliper centered and that's done. It's rubbing a little bit, but normally you just look through from this side and you'll see daylight either side of the pad, and then just nip it up. You can normally sort of squeeze it on the lever and tighten it up, but to be honest, it very rarely works, as I've probably covered several times before. So it's easier just to do it this way. And it needs to come this way a tiny bit, so I'm just pushing it over that way, a little bit at the bottom. Pretty good. Right, new brake fitted. I am going to have a very quick look at this front derailleur, because look at that, that's completely fell out of the actual shifter itself, so that's definitely not helping matters, but I suspect the derailleur itself is completely seized. Cable's obviously extremely slack, but that should be in the lowest chainring now when it's not moving on its own, so yeah. PB blaster to the rescue. I don't think the guy ever uses the 2 chainrings, you know, but just for a bit of fun, see if we can get it to be resurrected. Right, let's see if that's doing anything now. It's had 5 minutes. Oh, just a case of pushing and pulling really until it starts to do something. Well, that is super stiff. Literally no idea why I'm doing this, because it wasn't part of the job. Right, I'm going to give up on that because that is absolutely dead. Well, let's get some oil on this. This is the quick and dirty way of doing it, guys. But I think this bike is on its last legs, so this is intensive care stuff. Back brake's beautiful though, look at that. Well, I measure this chain, but there's no way this customer's going to go for this repair, because he basically just said, you know, he wants it doing as cheaply as possible, just make it work. This is way over 1%, 100% guaranteed. Yeah, look at that, that's off the chart. So if you start looking at that, you're looking at new chain, new cassette, new jockey wheels, new gear cables. You know, this is adding up very rapidly on a bike that's worth practically nothing. So we want the brake fixing, brake is fixing, gears kind of work. And run it into the ground, treat himself to a new bike. Put the old pads, which are basically brand new, into his little saddlebag and give him them back. Beautiful. Perfect. Right, what's next? Next up, we got this Specialized. This belongs to a young lad. It's in for several repairs, and yeah, it's in a bit of a state, to be honest. But the main thing it's in for is the crank here. So somehow he's managed to completely strip out this pedal thread here. I don't know what he's been doing. He's also stripped the front axle out. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit of a mess, but we'll see what we can do. So cost-wise, to repair this, around about £30 to fit a new insert into this, if I can, because it's really, really bad. It's not far off the same price as a chain set, to be honest. So if you get this from somewhere like their video sponsor, sportandleisure.com, these are around about £45 at the moment for a complete new chain set with chain rings. So it's a close call between whether it's worth trying to repair this or fitting a new chain set on. So sportandleisure.com, as you're probably aware, have been sponsoring this channel for several months now. Fantastic guys. So when you're in the middle of a job and you know the last thing you want is progress to come to a grinding halt because you've ordered a part from somewhere, says it's in stock, turns out it's 2 weeks away. I've been there, done that, not good. Anyway, that's why I use sportandleisure.com. They're a UK based company, their stock levels are live, and if the website says it's in stock, it really is on the shelf, ready to go. Order before 3 PM and it ships the same day. Free delivery. Need it faster than that, next day delivery is only £2.50, which is a no-brainer when you're trying to keep the work moving. So if I can't repair this, that's what I'll be doing. They've also updated the discount scheme for the channel. If you head over to sportandleisure.com/BCR or scan the QR code on screen right now, it'll generate a unique voucher for your 10% off your first order. So if you're buying parts anyway, it's a no-brainer. It's an easy saving. Just head down to that link there. So thanks again to sportandleisure.com for continuing to support the channel. Now let's see if we can resurrect this, or we'll be placing an order. The hardest part about this repair is getting the insert started straight, because it's very easy to put it in at an angle like this. Ideally you need a sort of a jig to get it in straight, but we'll see how we can go freehand. So first of all, we're just going to whip this crank off. I'm not going to show you that because you've seen it 1,000 times before on this channel. They weren't very tight. Like I say, feedback on that first video that I did, which was yesterday in real terms, was extremely positive. So I think when it's such a busy time of the year and it's difficult to sort of settle in for 2 days filming on a major service, these things are pretty quick. I can film this in sort of 10 minutes and edit it in the evening. So they're pretty quick and easy to put together for you. Right, crank out into the vise. So you're like this. I needed some longer punches. These are already classed as long punches, but when you try and knock out sort of seized headsets, I thought, oh, I'll get something a bit longer. I did that famous internet mistake. I ordered what I thought was right, and then I got these. Absolutely enormous. These are clearly designed for like HGV use, I think, but in reality, I think they're actually going to be pretty useful, especially this one here, much, much longer. So I'm going to hang on to them because they're only pretty cheap in here. But yeah, you know, when you order like a doll's house and stuff and you think it's a full size and it's this big, opposite. This is the kit we're going to use for this. It's made by Unior. I'm not sure anybody else even makes this, but it's basically designed exactly for this job. So there's a tap here, left and right. Basically, it cuts itself in. And then this is an oversized one here. It's basically a giant helicoil there. You would thread into the crank with some Loctite, let it dry, and then you've got a new crank basically. So that's the idea. You thread this in, but like I say, the difficult bit is getting this in straight. So let's have a go. So it's easy enough to get the crank level. That just goes straight into the vise, into these soft jaws and clamps out. So we know that's level that way and that way. So the challenging bit is to get this tap here, which is the right hand one, that one there, get that level. That looks level. Well, probably not on the camera screen, it doesn't, but to me where I'm standing, that looks level, both in this plane here and in that plane there. But obviously the crank is offset at this sort of angle, so it's a bit, you've got to get the geometry right, but that looks straight. Again, if it's like that, like that, like that, but it does kind of pull itself in fairly straight. So I've seen somebody do it where they've got a vise and then I've got a drill press sort of next to it, and that's obviously going to guarantee you get that straight. So that's something I'm going to look at implementing soon. So it's basically going in there like that, and you turn that, and it'll cut yourself a thread. So this is the right hand tap, just make double sure you don't want to cut a left hand thread. Yeah, because that's the left hand one in my hand, so it's got to be the right hand one. Some cutting fluid in here. It's only going into aluminium with a hardened steel, so it does go in very easily. But we need this on as well. Tighten this handle. Somebody told me how much this cost somewhere, I can't remember what it was. Canada, I think. Prices was like 3 times what I charged, so yeah, I think I need to put my prices up, guys. Right, and we're just turning this in. I'll say, making sure, I mean that looks perfectly straight to me that way and that way, so I think we'll be okay on this one. But that can be the challenge with this repair. Right, let me just wind this through until it starts cutting. He's really ripped this out because normally you've got loads of swarf falling out by now and it's barely took anything off, so I think there will be enough just for the insert. It cuts super, super easily, look, once it gets going in there. So obviously with the tap you do a couple of turns and go back a bit. Just keep clearing it. It doesn't take very long this, sort of labour wise, yeah, sort of 10-15 minutes, so it can be worth doing. Obviously if it's a very, very expensive chain set, not a Dura Ace with a power meter, you definitely want to have a go at this, but on something fairly low end like this, it's, like I say, cost wise, borderline. But it just shows you what's possible if you've broken something expensive. Right, that's all the way through there pretty much. That is all the way through there. Take this handle off and I'm just going to pull it through from the other side. So clearly that won't fit a normal pedal. It's way too big, but it will fit the insert. So for the insert here, we'll use red Loctite on this because you definitely don't want this ever coming out. You can normally screw it onto your pedal, screw it back in. It will protrude out the back there and cut it off flush. That's definitely going to bite into there, no problem. Good. Oh, so we're just going to chuck some red Loctite on this, thread it in, let it dry. So red Loctite, you can get it out with heat if you ever needed to, but in normal use, this is basically permanently bonded. Thread this in, it will fill itself up now. So I'm going to put an old pedal in here just to help screw that in. Well, that insert is basically just sat below the surface of that now. Grab the back of it and I'll just pull that pedal out. So that's it, it's just flush below there now. If you're using pedal washers in here, then you don't want to interfere with that. So just let that dry now and then we'll look at this. Last time I did it, I just very carefully ground it off with an angle grinder and put some protection tape around here. It worked pretty well. There's probably more technical ways of doing it, but it works for me. Right, let that dry. Good as new. Probably better than new actually, because it's a steel thread now rather than aluminium. Right, so that's been drying a couple of hours now actually. It takes 20 minutes for its first cure, 24 hours for its full cure. So the plan is really, I've done this before, cover the end of the crank up with some tape. I'm literally just going to skim it down with a grinder until I'm just skimming the tape and call that flush. You don't need to cut this off. It's protruding on the inside of the crank. It's not going to do any harm, but I think cosmetically it's just going to look a bit better. Hopefully not scratch it. Looking at this crank, it is actually brand new, so I don't know what the guy's done. He's just saying he's only a young lad. He seems to have fitted it, put the pedal in, and then just, well, it doesn't look like he's even ridden it. Maybe he's put the left arm on and just ripped it out, I don't know. Anyway, the other side's okay, so we're just going to get this cut off, put it back together. Some new pedals. Let's go. So that can go back on now. I've trimmed it down as far as I dare without actually scratching the crank, so hallelujah. Like I say, you can leave it. You don't need to trim it down. There's no requirement for that, but depends how brave you are with a grinder. Let's go. Just get some grease in your cups there. Slide this back in. Yeah, I'm not sure how he's managed that, but it's clearly a brand new crank set. I'm not sure he's ever even ridden it by the looks of it. It's literally brand new. So on this occasion, I think it was probably worth trying to save it. It'd be a bit frustrating otherwise if it's brand new and it's gone straight in the bin. Good. Right, bike's having a new chain as well. Go to your narrow wide. Have my Weetabix, don't worry. Jesus. Right, it's good to go. I'm just going to use this workshop pedal while that is still curing for 24 hours. And I'll drop them back on tomorrow with new pedals. See if these gears want to play ball now. With new cable, new chain. Right, I'm not going down here. I suspect this hanger has been bent. There's a bit of a scuff on this derailleur. Tiny tweak on that H screw, it wasn't happy down there. Oh, this is all over the place. Jesus. Look at this B tension, it's absolutely miles away. Oh my god. There's about a 2-inch gap here. Someone's had to play with this. So on these derailleurs you have a marking down here, there's a little line here that says 51T. See that? So when you've got a 51 tooth sprocket, basically you adjust your B tension until that line is level with this sprocket here. So you've got a massive gap here. This is a 42, I think. So we don't need to set to that line, but this gap is absolutely massive. So generally speaking, this top of this jockey wheel sort of here needs to be about 6 millimeters away. That's about 30, 40 at the moment. So we're going to pull the B tension right in. The problem picking up bar like this, someone's clearly had a go at it and not really knowing what they're doing. Well, that's as close as it'll go. That's the B screw maxed out, or minimum out, so to say. I'm not even sure it's in the capacity of this derailleur to handle this size sprocket. Jesus Christ. Right, we're going to check hanger alignment next. This is awful. Brakes ain't much better. I'm suspecting there's some compatibility issues going on here. It looks like he's changed a few bits and he's not happy. Right. Get to your valve. Moment of truth. Yeah, it's absolutely miles out. Not bad side to side, but this way we're miles out, so the derailleur hanger is bent outwards, which is unusual. Give it a tweak in, see if we can get a bit better. That looks good. Back to the top and measure that. Oh, that's a lot better than that. It's pretty much touching, so you're looking for about a 1 to 3 millimeter gap there. That is now straight. That was absolutely miles out actually, so I think we'll be putting a new hanger on it while we're waiting for the new axle to be delivered in 2 weeks' time. So the fork axle is a special Suntour radium one, it's a Q-lock one. They're flipping expensive, so I've ordered one actually. Guess what, from AliExpress. So £23 I think delivered. £66 in the UK for the same thing. About 10 days delivery there. Let's see what happens now. Right, so that H is already miles out, so that gives you a clue something's happened. Which is this one here. Down. Looking promising. Because we've done that and someone's obviously clearly messed around with the screws, you need to be careful when you go up to L, because there's a high chance we're going to go straight off into the spoke. So pedal very slowly. It's up, but now what we need to do is push that with your thumb really, really hard. You're trying to push this to reel it into the spokes basically. If it does, like that. So that's why you don't want to pedal it at full bore until you're sure of that. So someone's messed around with that one as well. So the L screw needs to be coming in a bit. Just click it off there so we're not resting on the screw. I'm going to screw that in a turn in a bit. Straight up to the top again, and again I'm going to push it. I can't push it off now, so that's never going to shift into there under normal use. Okay. You don't want to shift down there. Backing off some cable tension. And seat this in as well, because I've not done that yet. Right. Up. Have to go down. Almost. Not bad. A little bit sluggish coming down, but it's a brand new cable, so the next couple of weeks it will bed in ever so slightly, so I'd rather leave it ever so slightly tight to come down. When it beds in, it should be shifting perfectly then. I have already settled the housings down, put it into there and push your lever as far as you can. Generally that pretty much settles everything down, but I may still get a bit more over a few weeks. We're up now. Beautiful. Ish. Very good that. So I've got a few more bits to do. I've got brake pads to put in, lubricate the chain, new axle on order, put these pedals in after this is dried in 24 hours. This looks perfectly straight, so I think we're okay with that. I'll just put these pedals in now. They do actually come with pedal washers on these, so we'll fit those as well, so that'll fit in nicely. Plenty of grease on these. Alright, that looks extremely straight to me. Good. Looking good. So I hope you enjoyed those two little repairs. Hope you learned something along the way. If you did enjoy the content, if you've not already done so, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It really does help the channel grow. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for plenty more content.